Hi guys, welcome back to my class. I'm your Korean teacher, Emma from seemile. In the previous class, you learned about the four main usages of the particle 에 and the role another postpositional particle 에서 plays in sentences. Today, you're going to learn a few more particles that are used frequently and some expressions you can use when you feel sorry or grateful for something. Before that, let's look at some vocabulary related to the subject of groceries. Please repeat after me out loud as a memory aid. 소고기, 비빔밥, 불고기, 슈퍼마켓, 새우, 고추장, 돈, 조금, 남다, 계란, 가게, 바나나, 하나, 튀김, 칼, 자르다, 만두, 딸기, 주문하다, 팔다. Good job! As of now, we haven't discussed how to list words in Korean, so maybe you've been creating separate sentences for each item you wanted to list. For example, when saying you bought fish and meat, you might not have known how to say this and that yet in Korean. So you might just have been saying 저는 생선을 샀습니다. 저는 고기를 샀습니다. How can you make things simpler? What Korean word is similar to the word "and" in English? Actually, it's 와, 과, 하고, 이랑. All three of these particles have almost the same meaning, and their usage simply indicates that the listed preceding and following nouns are equal in importance. As for the particle 하고, it doesn't matter if the preceding noun ends in a consonant or a vowel, no changes are required to it. But as for the other two, it does matter. When the preceding word ends in a consonant, 과 or 이랑 need to be added, while 와 or 랑 can be included when the noun preceding it ends in a vowel. 하고 and 이랑 are mainly used in spoken informal language, whereas 와, 과 is mainly used in written formal language. So again, all these particles are similar to the English conjunctive and. So then, how would you say I bought fish and meat? 저는 생선과 고기를 샀습니다. Or 저는 생선하고 고기를 샀습니다. Or 저는 생선이랑 고기를 샀습니다. All are perfectly okay. Now let's watch what Aram and her friends did regarding their groceries. Please notice how 와, 과, 하고, and 이랑 are used.
아람이는 채소와 소고기를 샀어요. 아람이는 비빔밥과 불고기를 만들었어요.
히토미는 로한하고 슈퍼마켓에 갔어요. 히토미는 새우랑 생선이랑 고추냉이를 샀어요.
What did Aram buy? 채소 and 소고기. Then how would you complete the full sentence in Korean using the particle 와, 과? The first noun 채소 ends in a vowel, so let's attach 와 after it. 아람이는 채소와 소고기를 샀어요. Good job! Try saying the next sentence out loud in Korean as well. Use the particle 와, 과 again. 아람이는 비빔밥과 불고기를 만들었어요. Good job! This time, 비빔밥 ends in a consonant, so 과 is well attached. By the way, what are bibimbap and bulgogi? They both are traditional Korean foods. Bibim here comes from the verb bibida, which means to mix, and pap is the cooked rice, so bibimbap is basically rice that needs to be mixed or stirred before eating. The main ingredient is, as you can guess, cooked rice, and it is usually topped with other various ingredients like sliced meat, mushrooms, seasoned vegetables, cooked vegetables, some seasonings, and so on. And bulgogi is usually cooked by grilling marinated slices of pork or beef. They both are quite delicious and well-known Korean foods. Next, this time please use the particle 하고. then it should be 히토미는 로한하고 슈퍼마켓에 갔어요. Good job! This time, please use 이랑 to list all those 히토미 bought. 히토미는 새우랑 생선이랑 고추냉이를 샀어요. Good job! Now repeat after me out loud. 아람이는 채소와 소고기를 샀어요. 아람이는 비빔밥과 불고기를 만들었어요. 히토미는 로한하고 슈퍼마켓에 갔어요. 히토미는 새우랑 생선이랑 고추냉이를 샀어요. Now, while watching the next video, please guess which particle you're going to learn about next.
냉장고에 우유밖에 없었어요.
아람이는 돈이 조금밖에 안 남았어요.
카이는 계란밖에 못 샀어요. 가게에는 바나나가 하나밖에 없었어요.
Did you isolate the particle in common in all these sentences? Yes, 밖에. 밖에 is a postpositional particle that tells the listener that the preceding noun is the only option left. It's like other than in English, and it is mostly preceded by words indicating negation like 없다, 안 plus verb or adjective, and so on. 냉장고에 우유밖에 없었어요. 우유밖에, so it means that nothing was left in the fridge other than milk. 아람이는 돈이 조금밖에 안 남았어요. 조금밖에. This means that Aram has nothing left except for a little money. Now you're going to try saying the next two sentences out loud, but before that, let me give you one more small grammar tip. It's about the words used to negate the action of the predicate in a sentence. You already know one of them. Yes, it's 안, which should be placed before an adjective or a verb. Now I'm going to introduce you to another one, 못. When it comes to 못, it implies that something can't happen due to the lack of the speaker's ability or for some specific reason. For example, if you say 영화관에 안 가요, then it means that you intentionally aren't going to the movies. Whereas 영화관에 못 가요 indicates that you can't go to the movies for some reason. One thing you should be careful about when you use 못 is that it can only be placed before a verb, not an adjective. So it would be incorrect to say 키가 못 작아요. 안 needs to be used instead of 못 here, as in 키가 안 작아요. Keeping that in mind, please try out this sentence in Korean. Kai could only buy eggs. It also means that Kai couldn't buy anything except eggs for some reason, so 카이는 계란밖에 못 샀어요. Now, there was only one banana in the store. In other words, all the bananas were sold out except one, so 가게에는 바나나가 하나밖에 없었어요. As mentioned in the previous class, you can attach the topic marking particle 은는 to a phrase like 가게에, a noun plus a particle, to make that phrase a topic of the sentence. It's also okay not to attach 은는 after it, so 가게에 바나나가 하나밖에 없었어요 is correct as well. Alright, now repeat after me. 냉장고에 우유밖에 없었어요. 아람이는 돈이 조금밖에 안 남았어요. 카이는 계란밖에 못 샀어요. 가게에는 바나나가 하나밖에 없었어요. Before moving on to the next page, there's one more interesting point about 밖에 I'd like to tell you. The word 밖에 on its own can mean outside. What does it mean exactly? Remember the location-related 에 you learned before, right? And 밖 is a noun meaning outside. Then how can we distinguish if the 밖에 you're reading is the particle 밖에, meaning other than in English, or the combination of the noun 밖 and the location-related 에, meaning outside? In spoken language, you would have to rely on the context because there's no difference in pronunciation between the two. On the other hand, if it's in written form, there's one easy way to distinguish which one it is. You've already seen a lot of Korean sentences in the written form up to now and may have noticed that there are some rules for word spacing. So now let me give you some basic rules related to word spacing. The principle is that there should be space inserted between every word, but there are some exceptions. Some of them are between a noun and a particle, between a particle and a particle, and between a word stem and an ending. That's why you've probably never seen sentences written like this. 가게에는 바나나가 없었어요. That's because they should properly be written as 가게에는 바나나가 없었어요. Now, can you guess how to distinguish which 밖에 is being used in a sentence? Yes. If there's no space between the preceding noun and 밖에, then that 밖에 is the particle, meaning other than something. On the other hand, if there's space between them, then the 밖에 is simply the combination of the noun and the particle, meaning outside. Let's take an example. 히토미는 집 밖에 없어요. Here's the space, so it means that Hitomi isn't outside the house. But here, 히토미는 집 밖에 없어요. There's no space between the 집 and the 밖에, so it means that Hitomi doesn't have anything else other than a 집. Cool! The next particle you're going to learn is 으로. Please try to figure out the features related to the particle 으로 in the following video.
히토미는 새우로 튀김을 만들어요.
카이는 칼로 생선을 잘라요. 카이는 생선으로 만두를 만들어요.
존은 인터넷으로 딸기를 주문해요.
What information can you find out about the 새우 from this sentence? That it is one of the ingredients in the 튀김 Hitomi is making. Next, what about this one? What information can you find about the 칼? We see that Kai is using the 칼 as a tool to cut fish. Yes, 으로 is a particle used to indicate that the preceding noun is an object's material or ingredient, or the means for doing something. When the noun ends in a consonant, 으로 follows, and when it ends in a vowel, 로 follows. Keeping that in mind, say the following sentences out loud in Korean. Kai makes dumplings with fish. Fish is one of the ingredients used in the dumplings Kai is making, so 카이는 생선으로 만두를 만들어요. John orders strawberries on the internet. John is ordering strawberries by means of the internet, so 존은 인터넷으로 딸기를 주문해요. Now please repeat after me out loud. 히토미는 새우로 튀김을 만들어요. 카이는 칼로 생선을 잘라요. 카이는 생선으로 만두를 만들어요. 존은 인터넷으로 딸기를 주문해요. Good job! When you go to a grocery store, you may need to ask where something is or if something is in stock, and we show courtesy by using expressions such as excuse me, thank you, and so on. So how do we say those things in Korean? Let's first watch a video.
실례합니다. 고추장을 팔아요?
죄송합니다. 고추장은 안 팔아요. 고추장은 저기에서 팔아요.
감사합니다. 실례합니다. 고추장을 팔아요?
네, 여기 있어요.
감사합니다.
실례하다 literally means to commit a faux pas, but is actually used often to ask for somebody's understanding and excuse oneself before saying or doing something. So 실례해요, 실례합니다 is like excuse me in English. Wait a moment. Why isn't it 실례하요? You've learned that when the last vowel of the stem is either O or A, then 아요 should be added, right? Right. But words that end in 하다 are special, so they get changed to 해요. You're going to learn more about this in detail soon, but for now, please just remember that words that end in 하다 are conjugated to 해요 when speaking informally. So, 실례해요. Even if it's not a formal situation, 실례합니다 is frequently used to mean excuse me. Next, 죄송하다, 미안하다. They both mean to feel sorry for one's mistake, and thus the conjugated form 죄송해요, 죄송합니다, 미안해요, 미안합니다 are commonly used to apologize for a mistake. In addition to that, they also can be another way to politely say excuse me before asking a question. Please note that 죄송해요, 죄송합니다 indicates a stronger level of regret and a greater degree of respect for the other person than 미안해요, 미안합니다 does. Lastly, 고맙다, 감사하다 means to be thankful and grateful. So to say thank you, you can say 고마워요, 고맙습니다, 감사해요, 감사합니다. As for these words, 감사해요, 감사합니다 indicates a stronger degree of respect for the other person than 고마워요, 고맙습니다. So when there is no need for formality or if the other person is a peer, use 미안하다 and 고맙다 as in 미안해, 고마워. And just like with 실례합니다, saying 죄송합니다 or 감사합니다 isn't awkward even in an informal situation. Now, please pause the video for a moment and try saying these sentences out loud in Korean, and then replay it to check your answers. 실례합니다. 고추장을 팔아요? For your reference, here 고추장 refers to Korean red chili paste. 죄송합니다. 고추장은 안 팔아요. 고추장은 저기에서 팔아요. 저기 over there is the place where the item is being sold, so it is expressed as 저기에서. 감사합니다. 실례합니다. 고추장을 팔아요? 네, 여기 있어요. According to what you've already learned, 여기 here is the place where the 고추장 is, so the particle 에 would need to be attached to 여기. But I'm sure you also remember this other point as well, that in Korean, many times particles are omitted unless its omission changes the meaning. Yes, that's why it's okay to omit the 에 here, but keeping it in and saying 네, 여기에 있어요 is still grammatically acceptable. Now repeat after me out loud. 실례합니다. 고추장을 팔아요? 죄송합니다. 고추장은 안 팔아요. 고추장은 저기에서 팔아요. 감사합니다. 실례합니다. 고추장을 팔아요? 네, 여기 있어요. Good job! Now, by solving the question on page 105, let's review what we've learned today. Number 1. Choose the right picture. 카이는 계란밖에 못 샀어요. 밖에, except for that, so it means that Kai couldn't buy anything except for eggs. So, picture number 2 best describes the sentence. Next, 카이는 생선으로 만두를 만들어요. 으로 is the particle to show an object's ingredients or a method for doing something, so this means that 생선 is one of the ingredients used by Kai to make dumplings. And number 1 best describes this sentence. Can you tell me in Korean what's going on in picture number 3? Yes, 히토미가 새우로 튀김을 만들어요. Good job! Now, question number 2. Complete the sentence. Choose from the list. Number 1. 고추장을 팔아요? 네, 여기 있어요. Do you sell 고추장? Yes, here you are. Then what's the proper reply? Thank you, right? So the answer is 감사합니다. Number 2. 아람이는 비빔밥, 불고기를 만들었어요. Bibimbap and bulgogi are some traditional Korean foods, and we can assume that the speaker wants to say that Aram made bibimbap and bulgogi. Bibimbap ends in a consonant, so 과 or 이랑 or 하고 can be used afterward. Either of them can be the answer. Personally, I'll just choose 과. 아람이는 비빔밥과 불고기를 만들었어요. Number 3. 히토미는 새우, 튀김을 만들어요. Hitomi is making a fried food and it is most likely that the main ingredient is shrimp. Then the particle 으로 is the right one to use. 새우 ends in a vowel, so let's put just 로. 히토미는 새우로 튀김을 만들어요. Number 4. 고추장을 팔아요? The speaker seems to be in a grocery and asking a clerk there if they sell 고추장. We usually say excuse me before asking a question, so 실례합니다 is the answer. 실례합니다. 고추장을 팔아요? Number 5. 아람이는 채소, 소고기를 샀어요. 채소 can't be the ingredient of 소고기, right? So we can assume that the speaker is just listing what Aram bought. 채소 ends in a vowel, so 와, 하고, 랑 can be followed to mean and. All of them are correct options. I'll just choose 와. 아람이는 채소와 소고기를 샀어요. Number 6. 히토미는 로한, 슈퍼마켓에 갔어요. It seems that Hitomi went to the supermarket with 로한. 로한 ends in a consonant, so 과, 하고, 이랑 can be used. 과 is already in use, so this time I'll pick 하고. 히토미는 로한하고 슈퍼마켓에 갔어요. Number 7. 냉장고에 우유 없었어요. 없다, do not exist. Nothing exists in the fridge except for milk, right? So the particle 밖에 is the best appropriate. 냉장고에 우유밖에 없었어요. Again, as in this specific example, after the particle 밖에, in most cases, words indicating negation accompany it. Number 8. 히토미는 새우랑 생선, 고추냉이를 샀어요. Here, the speaker is listing what Hitomi bought, so a particle like 이랑, 과, 하고 should be used. Well, even if you were to use all three of those particles and say 히토미는 새우랑 생선과 고추냉이를 샀어요, or 히토미는 새우랑 생선하고 고추냉이를 샀어요, no one would misunderstand. But the most natural way native Koreans would say it is by using the same listing particle throughout the sentence. So I'll choose 이랑 as the answer. 히토미는 새우랑 생선이랑 고추냉이를 샀어요. Okay, now let me tell you about how I'm going to make my dinner this evening. 저는 오늘 저녁에 스파게티와 스테이크를 먹을 거예요. 냉장고에 면이랑 토마토랑 마늘밖에 없어요. 면이랑 토마토랑 마늘로 스파게티를 만들 거예요. 저는 친구하고 같이 슈퍼마켓에 갈 거예요. 거기에서 소고기를 살 거예요. 소고기로 스테이크를 만들 거예요. 맛있을 거예요. Now it's your turn. Please pause the video for a moment and tell me how you will make your dinner tonight. As I always say, you don't have to limit yourself to just the words you learned today. Please use the dictionary to look up the words as needed and try to make Korean sentences that convey specific facts about what you will do. Excellent! Today you learned 5 more postpositional particles and their usage. You also learned how to say excuse me, I'm sorry, and thank you. In our next lesson, you're going to learn a few more particles that Koreans use frequently that have to do specifically with time and location. Thank you guys for the efforts you've made so far to learn Korean. 감사합니다. See you next class. Bye.